Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with Almighty Jingles. You were probably expecting a World of Warships video today, but hey, patch 9.16 is out. And have you seen the new features? You probably have, they're on by default, but just in case you haven't, here's how you enable them. Go into Settings and hit that Feedback tab at the top of the screen. All kinds of new things in patch 9.16, including damage panels. All sorts of... Basically, it's like they've taken all the best things from XVM and they just made them part of the game interface. You can choose whether they're on or off. I recommend you probably try them with all of the settings on, then decide which ones you don't like and turn them off individually. Or failing that, you can just watch some World of Tanks patch 9.16 videos on YouTube and then decide which of the user interface enhancements you do and you don't like. Speaking of which, we've got two battles for you today. The first one, M103 on Sound River. Driving the M103 for us today is Magador, and his M103 is fully upgraded. He has the M58 gun, the same gun as on the T125, and you can tell straight away by the very distinctive muzzle brake at the end of the barrel. This gun is the first taste of reasonable accuracy that you're going to get in the American heavy tanks. The American heavy tanks do have good guns, but accuracy is not their strong suit. The T32 at tier 8 has an accuracy of 0.42. And while the accuracy isn't amazing on the M103's M58 gun, at 0.37 it's the best you've seen on an American heavy tank so far. This M58 is a very nice 120mm gun, and when you use the same gun on the T110E5 at tier 10, it only gets better. Okay, I've just been going on about the accuracy of the M58 gun. And that one looked like it dropped below the point of aim by around about 2 meters. Well, never mind. It's only 0.37. I mean, this isn't a German gun or a British gun. You know, it's all right. It's the most accurate gun American heavy tanks have had so far, and it does get better. The soft gun handling stats improve, as you'd expect them to do when you use the same gun on the T110E5 at tier 10. Traditional American... Oh, hello, Mr. E75. Oh, and there we go. There's some of the new UI enhancements. You can see the amount of damage blocked, who fired it at him, and which direction it came from. Obviously, the E75, and there it is again. These are all part of the new user interface enhancements that come part and parcel of patch 9.16. So, while Magador is trading shots with this E75, who has had his tracks blown off, but is angled pretty well, let's just talk a little bit more about the M103. If you're thinking of upgrading to it, you'll note Magador is hull down here. So all the E75 can really hit is his turret. Now, the M103 does have pretty good frontal armour, but it doesn't have good frontal armour in the same way that you're used to in previous American heavy tanks like the T29 and the T32. T29 and the T32 just had a shit ton of steel at the front of their turrets. But this is a post-war tank, and American tank engineers had learned a thing or two from World War II, and instead of just applying the maximum amount of steel to the front of their tanks, they've started to shape the armour. Now, it does still have a fair old chunk of steel at the front of the turret, anything up to 254mm, but it's the extreme angling of the turret cheeks from the front that is what makes this tank good in a hold-down position. You still have to watch out for the Commander's cupola, of course, but hold down, the M103 can be just as good as the T32 and the T29. Now, let's not forget, of course, that this is Assault on Sound River, so there's a 10-minute time limit, and the attacking team cannot just sit hull down on a sand dune taking shots at enemy tanks. They have to get in there. Because for the immobilization shot on the E75, he knows he's already used his repair kit, he's just going to have to sit there and take it. And while the E75's sitting there waiting to die, and he's dead, let's just talk about those damage indicators that are part of patch 9.16 again, because if you use them intelligently, they can actually tell you how to play. Remember when the E75 hit him and his armour blocked the damage? It told you how much damage his armour had blocked. It was 320. Well, that tells us straight away that the E75 was not using the 128mm gun. And here's a Tiger II. Now, looking at him, we can tell he's got the stock turret, but again, watch this. That was 240 damage blocked, not 320, so the Tiger II has the long 88mm gun. Well, he had the long 88, he's dead now. But yes, the point is that these new UI enhancements in patch 9.16, they're not just nice to have. You can also use the information that they give you to make informed decisions about how you're going to take on the tanks that are shooting at you. Oh, auto aim let him down there. T-34's managed to retreat and get back. That could come back and bite him on the ass. Wait, is he going to get? He's going to get another shot. Yes, he did. Right, T-34's managed to regain the high ground. He's pretty safe. He's got the IS-3 in front of him, but the IS-3 doesn't have great shots at him. He's got the T-34 above him, and the T-34's got good gun depression, but it's not good enough to hit him. And there's an AMX M4 in the dry riverbed down in front of him. But he's got a good shot at the side of this IS-3, so he takes it. Keeping an eye on the T-34. Would be nice if the T-34 decided to push his gun depression and expose enough of himself for the guys down here to be able to shoot up into him, but he's not quite that stupid. AMX M4 is looking like the likely target at the moment, however. So he decides to go for it. And full credit to this AMX M4, he knows exactly what to do. He's aiming for the Comanche Cupola, and his first shot hits it and takes it out. Now, in theory, he should be able to use the AMX M4's hull to protect him from fire from the IS-3, but there's now an AMX CDC on the ridge up and to his right. And so he has to fall back a little, and now the AMX M4's pulling back. The IS-3 gets a shot into him, the CDC bounces, the AMX bounces, he manages to finish the AMX off, but have a look at his ammunition. Now, there's a lot going on here. There's a T-55A just popped up and has put some effective fire into him, although the second shot did bounce. The IS-3 is a serious threat here as well. He's hit him again. He's bounced shots from the T-55A and the AMX CDC, and what he's not doing here is paying attention to his ammo count. He's fired all of his armor-piercing ammunition, and now, without realising it, he's spending gold. He literally had no idea whatsoever that he'd expended all of his armor-piercing, and he was down to his limited stock of premium ammunition. And you can understand why, with the trouble that he was in there. I mean, he had, what, an IS-3, an AMX M4, a T-55A, and an AMX CDC all shooting at him. He was having to angle the tank against multiple threats, get the gun firing as quickly as possible. There was too much going on for him to pay attention to his ammunition count, but that is going to bite him in the arse in a moment. Right. Anyway, T-55A taken out by the IS-3 on the team, who's had a pretty good game here. That was his third kill. And now they're calling out their next target. There's a Type 4 Heavy, the Japanese Tier 9 Super Heavy. There he is. They've got the side of him to shoot at, and with heat ammo and the big flat slab-like side of that thing, that's always going to penetrate. Poor old IS-3 here spends half the day aiming at this thing and then manages to miss. B-09 gun for you. He's only got 2 shots left. And then he's on the high explosive. Yep, again, good damage rolls. And I thought he was going to try to immobilise him by firing into his inside drive wheel there, but he shifts his aim at the last second. And that would have been a disaster if you'd been firing heat, because the tracks act as spaced armour, and it may have blown the tracks off, but it almost certainly wouldn't have done any damage. Now, look at the amount of health that Type 4 is on. 197 health, and Magador, thinking he's got armor piercing loaded, knows that if he can get the first shot off and not get hit by the Type 4 Heavy, he can kill him. But he doesn't have armor piercing loaded, except he doesn't realise it yet. And he gets the first shot. Does 11 damage. And now he knows he's got high explosive loaded. And now he's starting to panic. He was lucky the Type 4 missed, or that gun would have finished him. The VK puts a shot in at the side of the turret. It bounces. The Type 4's trying to bring the turret around. Can he kill him now? Oh, that would be no. He's left him on 11 health, and now he's staring death in the face. The Type 4's 150mm gun missed the first time, but it's not going to miss the second time. It can bounce, however. And finally, Magador can start breathing again as the VK finally puts an accurate shot in and finishes him off. The moral of today's story, kids, pay attention to what ammunition you have loaded and don't go YOLOing one of the most heavily armoured tanks in the game with high explosive ammo loaded. That's not an experience you want to repeat in a hurry. Right, anyway, remember this is Assault. It only has a 10-minute time limit, and there's less than 2 minutes left. In fact, there's barely 1 minute left. And that T-71 is the last surviving enemy tank, and he's not stupid. He knows that he can still win this, even though he's outnumbered 5-1. All he has to do is stay alive and pray that the enemy team are all yelling "no cap, kill all" at each other in team chat. Remember, it's assault. You win when you're attacking on assault by knocking out all of the enemy tanks or capping their base before the time limit expires. And, well, yeah. Who's going to go chasing after a T-71? The KV-4. And for a second there I thought the IS-3. But he has a sudden change of plan and starts reversing after destroying all of the cover that would have protected him from the T-71 reset in the cap. And there goes the KV-4. He's actually going to go chasing after a T-71. There's less than 30 seconds of this match left. There are only 2 of them in the cap circle. Is it going to be enough? The KV-4's had a change of heart. He's coming back in, but the rest of the team have arrived in the cap circle, and now with at least 3 of them in there, yeah, they've got it. So, Magador in the M103 giving me a heart attack when I saw him going after that Type 4 Heavy with high explosive loaded without realising it. But still, Ace Tanker, Confederate, he only got 2 kills, but he got the Steel Wall and the High Caliber. Steel Wall? In an M103? What dark sorcery is this? The Type 4 Heavy actually did pretty well. He bounced 4,170 points of damage with his armour. But Magador, in an M103 no less, as well as doing 7,500 damage of his own, bounced 4,600 points of damage with his armour. Although, unsurprisingly, in a Tier 9 game where you burn through all of your armour piercing and your premium ammunition, he didn't make any money out of that match, although he would have if he'd been running a premium account. Anyway, on to our second and final patch 9.16 replay of the day, and it's on the new Paris map, which also makes its debut in the latest patch of World of Tanks. Ah, gay Paris. I remember Paris in '49, the Champs-Élysées, Beaujolais wine. My apologies to Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy. You probably had to be there to get it. But anyway, yes. So, the new Paris map. I have absolutely no idea what this map is about. I still haven't seen the map yet. In fact, this replay is the first time I had laid eyes on this map. And playing on the Paris map for us today in his Object 140 is Crusader. Now, the Object 140, one of numerous Soviet Tier 10 medium tanks. And what makes the Object 140 different to all of the other Soviet Tier 10 mediums is it has the best camo, it's the fastest, and it has an extra degree of gun depression. None of which is going to be particularly useful here on the Paris map. It also has the worst armour. The front of the turret can take a bit of a beating, but the turret top is very, very weak. So this is not the ideal map in which to be in an Object 140. Now he's platooned up with the TVP. But, well, I mean, the TVP gets some early successes there, particularly against that IS-3. He also scored a hit on the M46 Pattern Korea, as does Crusader. Snapshot there, very nice. IS-3 popped up on the corner, snaps a shot between the buildings there, more damage to the IS-3, M46 is aiming at him, and that's where he takes his first hit. But, I'm pretty safe to say that the M46 did not come off best in that exchange, and he could hit him again here, but all he would do there is immobilise him safe behind cover, so he doesn't bother. He's got the IS-7 side scraping on the corner here, and somebody starts firing high explosive at the IS-7. There it is. Possibly that was an artillery hit, I'm not entirely sure. IS-7 side scraping the corner there against an E5 and another IS-7, and he hits the E5, and that's when he takes, and that was definitely a high explosive hit, from a sneaky little T-44 who swapped places with the M46 Korea. Well, that T-44 is definitely going to come off worse in that exchange, and that's when Crusader spots the Scorpion G. Crap, they're being outflanked already. He takes a nasty hit there, and he decides to move and take out the threat to the flank. Now, the Scorpion G, still on the reload, he rams him, and not wanting to fire at the front of his turret, the Scorpion G instead elects to put some shots into his platoon mate in the TVP, but the Scorpion G is out. And surprisingly, despite all the shots that have been fired so far, that's just 1 kill each for both teams, although that situation is about to change, in fact it already has. Now he's moving up to try to get the kill on the Waffenträger, but the Waffenträger's pulled back, so instead he pumps one in at the Guerrilla 15, who's waiting for the STA-2 on the other side of the boulevard on Crusader's left to pop out again. Meanwhile, the situation back down there is not looking good at all. He gets a shot into the E5, but the Carnarvon looks like he's they've both set each other on fire, the Carnarvon and the T-57 Heavy, and they're both burning without using their fire extinguishers. Well, the Carnarvon dies before he can put the fire out. The T-57 Heavy survives, but on low health. His platoon mate in the TVP's been taken out, and there's an E4 around the corner. So watch how he uses... I mean, there's not a lot of terrain that you can really use to your advantage on a city map. But watch how Crusader uses what's available to him here. Reverse side scraping around the corner of the building, paying attention to the Guerrilla 15 and the E4. He's going to get another shot into the Guerrilla 15. Looking behind him, they're all about to come around the corner. There's the IS-3. Watch this shot. Doesn't kill him, but look where he's tracked him. He's got him now. IS-3 down. Okay, quick look in front of him. Friendly tanks clearing his front. Now all he really has to worry about is the tanks behind him. But there are a lot of tanks behind him. T-57 Heavy. Notice how he's reverse side scraping and angling up here. All he's really given these guys shots at are his tracks. And they keep... the T-57 Heavy in particular, in fact I lost count. 3, possibly 4 shots. No damage done. T-44 as well. All they're doing is blowing his tracks off here. He puts another one into the T-44. There's an IS-7 coming up the hill to get him. He's got to finish the T-44 off. And he does. Now watch this. Angling, angling, angling. Trolls the IS-7 into shooting him in his tracks. Puts a shot into the IS-7. Gets the tracks up. Immobilizes the IS-7. Watch how he uses these dead tanks. Look at this. Look at that. Textbook. Absolutely beautiful. Now that IS-7 is good and pissed off, and he's coming after him. But for the moment, Crusader's going to have bigger problems because that T-57 Heavy is just reloaded, and he was waiting for him. First shot blows off his tracks. Second shot does damage. Third shot does damage. He doesn't get a fourth shot. Oh, and there's that exceptionally pissed off IS-7. But wait, he's just fired. Crusader immobilizes him again. IS-3 in front, takes cover behind the wreck of the T-57 Heavy, misses the IS-3, but now he turns around to face the IS-7, and this guy's almost on full health. Watch this. This is... yeah, it bounced. It's Steve, the IS-7 driver. Stops to finish off the artillery. Only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. One of them, a T-34. Now, I'm not saying the T-34 is a bad player. He's a tier 8 in a tier 10 match. But this guy's only fired 3 shots in this entire game. And only 2 of them do any damage. And that was the second one. Ah, shit. I mean, he had to get taken out. Why did it have to be that guy? Anyway, I think we can agree that Crusader played a good game, regardless of the way it ended. And that's the new Paris map in patch 9.16. And the T-34 is, of course, dead. You know, the thing that amazed me most about that one, I mean, despite the textbook driving of the Object 140, was the fact that Crusader only has 1 mark of mastery on the barrel of that thing. Perhaps he just hasn't played it that much. I mean, that's the only reasonable explanation I can come up with. He is very, very good in that machine. Ace tanker, high caliber. Just short of 6,400 damage done. But there were 2 things about this that surprised me. The first was how much damage that Batchat artillery did. He's actually second on damage done on Crusader's team with over 3,200 on a city map. Wow. I wouldn't have minded seeing this battle from his perspective, but, well, sadly, he hasn't uploaded. But the other surprising thing is how little damage Crusader actually blocked with his armour. He took 13 hits in that game and 7 failed to penetrate, and yet his armour only blocked 980 damage, so where did the rest go? Well, they all went into his tracks. The Object 140 definitely has the worst armour of the Soviet Tier 10 mediums, and yet his tracks must have absorbed at least 3,000 damage during the course of that game. Took hits from T-57 Heavies, IS-7s, and T-44s. His tracks took a pounding. But they took a pounding because of the way he angled the tank, and because he had enemies who were dumb enough to continue trying to put shots into the side of an angled Object 140 instead of going for his big fat Russian ass. And it paid off. He had a great game, and a very, very well-deserved Ace Tanker badge in the Object 140 on the new Paris map in World of Tanks patch 9.16, live now, unless of course you play on the Asian server, in which case live, well, who knows. Certainly not me, but it's coming soon. Hope you enjoyed today's video, folks, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.